Good morning, this is Angela with Parker's Permaculture. We are not working on our greenhouse today because it is once again rainy. We're having a little bit of a rainy, cool spring, and our family's been sick on the few nice sunny days that we've had, and that means I cannot get my greenhouse painted and finished, and that's been really frustrating for me. Those of you who have watched some of my House File Friday videos know that I really struggle with overproductivity, and I keep a long running list in the back of my head and on my phone of tasks that I need to be accomplishing. And I get very, very frustrated when those tasks fall behind schedule. So for me, it's really frustrating that this greenhouse is not done yet. I was really hoping to be done by now, but we can't control the weather. And I think that's something that permaculture tries to instill in us. If we look at the principles of permaculture, there are things that are outside of our control. It's up to us to observe and interact, but it's not up to us to dictate all of the conditions in our garden. And that means sometimes we have to adapt, and sometimes we have to move on to other projects and come back when circumstances are favorable to the project that we had to put on hold for a little bit. So that means today, as I pan over here, we are working on our shed project. There's my husband who's helping me out, and Ruth who's helping me out. This is our shed kit that we got. So we don't have a garage, and that has been a long-term frustration for me. When we bought our house, we had a very, very limited budget and very little to work with. And a garage was on my list, but we didn't get one. And that's just how it is. But it means that we have a constant storage issue. Our house is not very big. We have a covered pergola out the back. And if you've seen some of my videos in the backyard, you know that I get really, again, frustrated. I'm going to say frustrated a lot in this video. I get really frustrated with the fact that I have minimal storage. And right now, the area where we're supposed to enjoy eating outdoors in nice weather is just full of lumber, and we can't use it. So we've been saving, and we finally ended up getting a shed kit. It got delivered more than a month early. It's not actually supposed to be here for another 2 weeks, and it came in early May. So it's just been sitting here on our driveway, and we have either not had good enough weather or we've not been well enough to work on it. But today is the day we are starting the foundation. So I feel like this is a good choice for us. This is a good investment of resources. By getting a kit, we're saving several $1,000s over having a shed custom built for us. By getting a kit, we are able to utilize some of the skills that we have in order to make this process cost effective for us. It does mean we are going to put more time in. If you watch my video on your money or your life, I think a lot about life hours. How do I want to spend my life hours? Do I want to save money on something, which means I will then put more time into the project? And for me, I find this kind of work enjoyable, and I feel like the savings in the end, especially if it's a project we're all working on together as a family, where we are using resources that we already have, tools that we already have. We are growing our skill set, so we're learning something. We've never built a shed before, where we are spending time together as a family outdoors. That's more enjoyable than more hours spent editing video indoors, or more hours that my husband has to work. So for me, this is a good way to spend our life hours. So once we get this shed built, we're going to be able to have more storage, more effective organization in our garden, and we're going to be more efficient. In permaculture design, not everything is about putting in a big garden and tearing down structures and ripping up your driveway, even though we ripped up half our driveway, to put in more garden. There is a point at which your system ceases to function as effectively because you have limited yourself on structures, and they serve a place. Permaculture is not conservation of habitat. It's not restoration of habitat. It is about not necessarily a... Hi, Ruth.
Yon's here.
Oh, already here? Okay, I had to cut away for a little while because a friend of ours came to visit and wanted to see our baby birdies. So she has left now, and I will get back to filming this video. So we are working on putting in a shed here because it feels like a really efficient use of space. It feels like a great way to make other parts of our system more efficient. Storage is an important component of permaculture. Storage is an important component of any good design. You can check out my video on is it really better to be minimalist if we are clutterbugs? Is that sometimes the more sustainable solution? So we got a shed kit, again, going to save us thousands of dollars by putting it together ourselves. It was something that we had to save up for, and it's something that we feel is a good investment that will pay dividends. Of course, I'm going to be growing vining plants up over it. We had a slight problem in that our driveway is 14 inches too narrow for the shed. So we took out half of our driveway a few years ago to deal with some drainage problems we were having on our property and put in more garden beds. That doesn't mean that more garden beds is always the solution. So for part of our yard here, we kept half our driveway because we knew it was a useful unloading zone for things. We knew that we needed to park our car somewhere. We knew that it was a space that we wanted to keep a hard surface just in case we needed it for something else. And now a few years later, as we've kind of reassessed our needs and are seeing where we have gaps in our design, we realized that we are going to use this as the foundation for the shed, but it is 14 inches too narrow. So that means we are harvesting some bricks from my dad's garden that he doesn't need, and we are adding it to each side of the driveway to form the base layer upon which we're going to build our shed. We know this is going to work really well for us because underneath here is all of the base material that was used when leveling this area to put a driveway in initially. That means that there is gravel hard pack underneath, and it makes it really easy to level. We just have to remove the little bit of soil that exists on either side here, and we can put in the bricks and level it really nicely. In fact, my husband made a tool. He's going to hand me here a handy dandy tool for leveling with the driveway to make sure that we get the base nice and flat, and we get a nice flush surface. Here Casey is measuring for where to put the first brick. This jig made out of scrap wood is the depth of 1 brick. So the long part lays on top of the driveway, and the part underneath then will scrape out exactly enough to be deep enough for 1 brick to sit flush. Now there's a little bit of wiggle room, and we want to make sure that this is very compact so there is no settling. There is underneath this driveway base material, which is crushed gravel. So this is our upcoming project. Yes, I'm going to be finishing my greenhouse. That's going to be happening. Yes, I'm going to be doing lots and lots of other garden projects. But for us, we're hoping we can get this shed built. As I set down the leveler, we're hoping I can get this shed built over the next couple of weeks. We'll have to paint it, we'll have to roof it. It will become a nice structure upon which to grow things. It will become a wonderful storage solution that will help us utilize other parts of our garden better, and also just properly store things so that they last longer, right? So I want to encourage you, when you're looking at your permaculture design, to think about what investments in structures make sense for you, where you want to put your plants and where you want to put your structures, acknowledging that both are necessary. Greenhouse is really necessary for us. The shed is really necessary for us, and will help all of the garden elements function better. So the wind is kicking up a little bit here, and I think it's going to start raining again, and we're going to get back to working. But I want to encourage you that permaculture design is not just about plants. It's not just about gardening. It is about integrated systems for humans to live sustainably in a way that doesn't exploit nature, in a way that regenerates nature. So if we're going to have human habitation, if we're going to have efficient human systems, we need to have efficient structures. We need to have structures that make sense. We can't just have all wild places. We have to have wild places. We have to have cultivated places. We have to have human habitation all together working in synchronicity to increase our resilience. I'll be back soon for my permaculture garden. Lots happening in June. I'm really looking forward to June. It is my favorite month in the garden. There is so much that is coming into peak abundance and so much anticipation of more to come. So please tune back in. Thanks.